For years, the XRP community speculated on the idea of Ripple replacing Swift and becoming the new essential Swift in the digital financial system. And on the 29th, we saw Swift announce a bombshell. But it wasn't just the bombshell of them launching a blockchain ledger. It was the fact that they were doing this with consensus. Here's the announcement. Just in, Swift is building a blockchain ledger with 30 plus banks using consensus. Now, a lot of you have asked me in the comments, Nick, are you going to put a spotlight on this? Are you going to talk about this? I wanted to give it a little bit of time because I wanted to get everything together for this video and really prepare it, because I want to give you guys everything that we have in front of us to ensure that this is not a threat. This is not something that we need to worry about. So right off the rip, the number one thing that is very suspicious about this to me is that, yes, Swift has always been looked at as a competition to Ripple, but this is not the case, right? Swift and Ripple are two completely different companies that do completely different things. Swift's main focus is messaging. Ripple is focused on everything as well as messaging, but mainly clearing and settlement. That was always the main focus from Ripple around cross-border payments. In fact, Ripple, especially even their CTO, David Schwartz, which, yes, did recently step down, he said that if Swift can fix the messaging layer, then that works for them. They could work together. Ripple can solve the settlement and clearing layer. Now, the interesting thing about this is Consensus being the main player that they are working with here, because if you guys don't know, Consensus is the main players behind Ethereum. And if we go back to 2020, when the SEC lawsuit officially got announced against Ripple and XRP, guess who was celebrating that lawsuit? That's right, Vitalik Buterin and major Ethereum founders, including those from Consensus. So now things are starting to look very suspicious to the XRP community, because we're looking at this and we're saying, was ETHgate a real thing all along? Because a lot of people said that ETHgate was not a thing. It was made up. It was just a coping mechanism from the XRP side. And that's why we also have over here from Crypto Insight UK, if we in the XRP community are right that Ethereum, Consensus, and even Gensler had something to do with the SEC lawsuit against Ripple, and now we see Consensus potentially building with Swift, doesn't it make sense to consider two possibilities? Number one, Swift may have realized that they really need a blockchain or DLT solution for their payment system. During Ripple's time with the SEC, or even before the lawsuit, it's possible that Ripple and Swift had discussions, or that Swift even made Ripple an offer. Ripple might have turned that offer down, and then more recently, for the first time I've ever heard him do so, Brad Garlinghouse openly said that Ripple is aiming to take 14% of Swift's volume. Almost immediately afterwards, Swift started talking about the need for a blockchain-based settlement. That timing doesn't feel like coincidence. Second, we should consider whether Ripple's rejection of Swift, if that happened, was a strategic move. After the SEC lawsuit, Ripple may have positioned itself to compete directly rather than being absorbed. Now, when we look at trust in Swift, it seems to be slowly, and again, we've been talking about this for quite some time, eroding. For example, Russia will likely never use Swift again. Even if relations with the US were to improve in the future, Russia would never route transactions through a system that cut them off. Other countries are watching closely. Systems like China's CIPS exist, but they lack global liquidity. This is exactly where Ripple could step in. It would make sense for Ripple to serve as a neutral settlement layer between the US and other countries, building global liquidity over time and rivaling Swift in the corridors where trust in Swift is breaking down. These are just thoughts. I'm not saying any of this is a fact, but from a corporate strategy standpoint, this is how I think about the situation and how Ripple may be approaching it. And yeah, listen, when we think about Swift, I think for the longest time, Swift has always been looked at as a financial weapon that the US has utilized. I don't really see anything that Swift is doing as a threat. Also, majority of the things that Swift has tried to do in the past, it has failed. I don't know if you guys know this, but in the past, Swift tried to launch their own digital currency. And that failed because nobody wants to utilize a centralized currency. But on top of this, here we have the announcement. Have you heard the news? In the CBOS opening plenary, our CEO, Javier Perez Tasso, revealed plans to add a blockchain-based shared ledger to our infrastructure stack. Together with over 30 leading financial institutions, this initiative aims to make real-time 24/7 cross-border payments a reality at scale across more than 200 countries and territories. Now, again, we have the announcement over here. So Swift introduces blockchain-based ledger. This did happen on the 29th. At Swift, our mission has always been to continually innovate and elevate the cross-border payments experience. Today, we are taking a pivotal step forward, adding a blockchain-based shared ledger to our technology infrastructure. Now, looking at this, we could see a few of the quotes from the CEO. I'm very pleased to announce that we will add a blockchain-based ledger to our technology infrastructure to allow for trusted movement of tokenized value across the digital ecosystems. We also have down here, you may think, wow, aren't those opposites, Swift and blockchain, TradFi and DeFi? Can they really go together in the regulated system of the future? We believe they can. Banks are ready for it, and they're asking us to play a bigger role. Now, when we look at all of the players tied to this, I find it very interesting, right? I find it very interesting because almost every single major bank that is tied back to this announcement, right? And here we have all of those banks. Which ones of these are, partners of Ripple? Or at least confirmed partners of Ripple? Well, we have over here Akbank, ANZ, Banco Santander, Bank of America, BBVA, BNP Paribas, BNY, Bradesco, Citi technically through Medico, Credit Agricole, DBS Bank, Deutsche Bank, Emirates DBD, First Abu Dhabi Bank. We also have HSBC here, Itaú Unibanco. Now, again, I don't think that JP Morgan is actually a confirmed, partner of Ripple's. They really never got confirmed. Mizuho, MUFG also, these two are kind of confirmed at this point. Westpac, Wells Fargo, Standard Chartered, Societe Generale Forge, Saudi Awal Bank, and then the Royal Bank of Canada. A lot of these are through partnerships, like for an example, or even acquisitions like Medico. But also in the past, we know that we have witnessed Ripple say that they are partnered with these types of banks. We've had lists of banks that they are working with, and majority of these do come up on those lists. The ones that I know for a 100% fact that Ripple is working with is Standard Chartered, Societe Generale. We also have HSBC. We also have MUFG, Mizuho, Deutsche Bank, DBS Bank. We also have BNY, because they just announced the RLUSD custody announcement. BNP Paribas, BBVA. We have Bank of America as well. Again, I know that there's not a confirmed announcement, but we do know that Bank of America has talked about Ripple multiple times throughout the years. Banco Santander, ANZ, those are like the main ones that I know of when it comes to Ripple. But again, the fact that these are the banks tied back to this is very interesting because, again, we look at what's happening here. Is this going to be a threat to Ripple? Is it going to be a threat to XRP? And the simplest way of answering that is I really don't believe so. I really don't believe so at all. We got to think about all of the names tied back to this. Like, for an example, even here from Wrath of Kahneman, we have money runs on connectivity. Ripple partner Thunes plugged its pay to banks service into Swift. This means that Ripple liquidity that is routed through Thunes can reach any Swift connected bank, said to cover 11,000 banks. Almost all of these players that Ripple is working with have some sort of connection back to Swift. Like I've mentioned, Swift is not a clearing and settlement platform. They mainly focus on messaging. And over time, we have heard from major players that Swift has failed on almost every single major initiative that they've tried to do. For an example, here we have from Neatsbucks, and we have, if there will be no minting of tokens on this new private EVM Swift ledger, then I can only surmise neutrality will continue to allow any public chains to compete in the broader market. This isn't about replacing existing payment systems or issuing new money. Settlement remains in central bank money, commercial bank money, or tokenized deposits. This isn't the internet of value. It's one piece of it to improve some of the banking system. In many ways, this helps the XRP ledger. Until more of the internet of value is built out, XRP can't hit its full potential. Maybe Swift hates Ripple, maybe they don't, but institutional customers will decide what they do with their funds. The more the XRP ledger offers best-in-class liquidity and settlement between a large array of assets, the more it will be used. Simple as that. The bigger the on-chain pie, the better. And of course, here we have that message. Is Swift going to mint tokens as part of this new blockchain infrastructure? And we have from the CIO of Swift, no. So again, when we think about this, yeah, I mean, majority of what we are witnessing around any of these major platforms launching blockchain or tapping into blockchain, it benefits XRP in a big way, and it benefits what Ripple has already been trying to do for years. So I don't look at this as a threat. I don't look at this as something negative at all. But also on top of this, over here from Son NL11, this is the CEO of Fireblocks. We have Bro, CEO of Fireblocks, roasting Swift. Initiatives limited impact. Swift specs are outdated. You can technically browse the internet with a fax machine, but nobody is doing it. Thoughts? And of course, here we have a few thoughts on Swift's new blockchain ledger, announced today at CBOS. While the signal it sends to the market is meaningful, Swift has been announcing similar initiatives since 2018 with limited real-world impact. In my honest opinion, there are two strategic issues with Swift's play in crypto and digital assets. Number one, banks remain significantly behind the vast majority of the fintechs that adopted digital assets. Though this year has seen a rapid acceleration, as a result, the vast majority of the digital asset economic activity is currently happening outside of the reach of their network, significantly undermining its value. It is unlikely for these fintechs to join Swift, but the banks will need to interact with them to bootstrap the utilization. Number two, the technical Swift specifications are outdated for the mainstream activity with digital assets and its new market structure. You can technically browse the internet using a fax machine, but I haven't seen anyone doing it. And again, this goes hand in hand with what Swift has been trying to do. They've been trying to catch up, but they just simply can't because, again, Swift might be seen as this massive giant in TradFi. But when it comes to the digital asset space and, just blockchain itself, I mean, look at all of the names that Ripple has announced over the years. Big banks are flocking to trusted systems that already built out the infrastructure. If I was a big bank, if I was a big institutional player, I'm not choosing Swift over Ripple when it comes to digital assets. This isn't the idea of, why would you pick Ripple over Swift? Because again, Swift has 11,000 banks. They're this big, massive network. They've been dominating the payment space for years. Why wouldn't you pick Swift? Well, it's because Ripple specializes in blockchain and digital assets. Ripple has been around for well over a decade. They have absolutely, destroyed every single type of, competition that has come in their way. Not by them targeting them, not by them trying to do so, but simply because of their experience. And also from the use, right? You got to remember that XRP and the XRPL and the entire Ripple platform has been trialed. It's been tested for years. It's been battle tested by the biggest players like even Bank of England around atomic settlement of two digital assets. This is why, when we think about, this space, everyone always says, oh, I thought it was going to be Ripple. Well, too bad. It's actually Swift. Swift's doing this. Swift's doing that. This is going to kill Ripple. This is going to kill XRP. I don't believe that that is the case because, again, Ripple has been around for so long. Their platform is battle tested. They have an all-in-one umbrella for institutional players to tap into this space. I go off of, how long has it been running without any issues? How fast can these institutional players tap into this space through Ripple, through this battle-tested platform? And it's immediate. It's so quick. This is why we are seeing increased adoption around Ripple. This is why we are seeing increased adoption around XRP. It's not because, they have won. It's because they have been around for years and years and years. And they've been really, in my opinion, locked down the institutional side of the digital asset space. This is why I think that going forward, I don't really believe any of these initiatives, like even this one over here, where Citi is going to integrate its blockchain platform, Citi Token Services, with USD clearing to provide 24/7 instant cross-border payments between banks or institutional clients in the US and UK. Like, I'm not worried about any of these announcements. In fact, I think that all of these strengthen the use case around XRP and even what Ripple has been doing for years. Because again, Ripple has specialized themselves in this space. When we think about these players like Citi or Swift, they're just jumping in. They're just getting prepared for this. This is why I keep saying that these players like Citi, Swift, or any big bank, they are not a threat to us. And by the way, majority of these systems are closed loop systems anyways. We want to make sure that this is an open ecosystem, not a walled garden. So again, I'm not worried about this at all. No, I don't think that Chainlink won because, again, a lot of people were saying, oh, well, this is with Chainlink. And yeah, sure, it is. It probably is with Chainlink. It doesn't mean that, Chainlink beat XRP because these are two completely different use cases. Again, Chainlink is an Oracle provider. XRP is completely different. Ripple is completely different. I feel as if whenever we see an announcement like this, everyone immediately goes, oh, see, I told you, it's not Ripple, it's not XRP. It's just a lot of these people are just not experienced in what Chainlink does, or what Ripple does, or what Swift does, because again, a lot of people still think that Swift is a settlement infrastructure. It's not. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.